Welcome to the Reality Check. Today, October 2nd, 2018. So much to talk about. We're going to go all over the place today. Hit subjects 1, 2, 3 times, maybe not in a row. Go back and forth like a chicken without our head cut off, because that's the sign of the times for today. We have October 1st was the 1-year anniversary of the Las Vegas massacre. Still many questions about that. Of course, this weekend, one of the biggest UFCs, UFC 229. Of course, Khabib McGregor. But the real breaking news story of the day. We have the evidence coming in, but we don't have it here yet. It's coming, but we'll report it anyway. Yes, Brett Kavanaugh. We found out about his shenanigans. Now, let me set this up. There was male and female, a little bit more females than male, and Brett Kavanaugh was in his room. I'm sorry, not in his room, in this room. And in this room, Brett Kavanaugh's shorts fall down. They fell down. He was walking around in only his diaper. Yep, he was in his diaper. He was almost 3 years old at the time. He was over 2, but not yet 3. And there it was. He was walking in his diaper. You've heard it here. That's the big news. That's the big liberal news of the day. Brett Kavanaugh walking with his pants down in his diaper when he was 2, almost 3 years old. Yes, you can get Leaky Leahy on it. You can get Stolen Valor on it. Get Harris on it. Get them all on it. Maxine Toilet Waters, she needs an investigation, so does Dianne Feinstein. Let's investigate this. Kavanaugh, his diaper, walking around with his pants down, only in a diaper. Well, obviously, you know that's sarcasm, but I'm sure it'll be reported somewhere today as a real story. So that's pretty much what we have here. When you read this junk, I mean, unbelievable. You have professors at Georgetown saying that Brett Kavanaugh, white Republican men, should die miserable deaths. Anybody who supports Brett Kavanaugh should not only die a miserable death, we should castrate their corpses and feed them to swine. Now, not only liberalism is a mental disorder, as the great Michael Savage says, but I mean, I think we're beyond that. I think we're beyond mental disorders now, because most people with mental disorders don't hurt people. These are people that would literally, if they had the chance, hurt you. And in the need to be believes category, Karen Moynihan, she's been pushed to the side. You hear nothing about her. Nobody says she needs to be believed. Interesting. Sorry. So, Rand Paul, obviously you know that he's been attacked thanks to the violence that's been put forth, verbal spewing and encouragement of the Maxine Toilet Waters. So he wants some investigation on people like Mike Lee, Orrin Hatch, Lindsey Graham. Their personal phone numbers, their home addresses have been posted on not only Wikipedia but in other places. So somebody who has knowledge of this has been posting these addresses. They're personal things. This is putting, they're inciting people, they're pushing them to violence, and now they're putting these people in danger. You know, I mean, these people have families that have nothing to do with this. You know, even neighbors, you know, never know. Somebody transposes a number there, you have somebody coming to your neighbor's house, you know, banging with the shovels and stuff, trying to get you out, trying to, you know, hurt you or attack you or yell at you and scream at you. And, you know, it's just boiling water. And we're trying to turn this boiling water off, and you have a party of liberal maniacs that are not only keeping you away from turning off, but they're turning up that heat. They want it to boil over. This is what they want. They think they can capitalize this. So one of the, we know the things that attempted stabbing on one of the Republicans. You know about Kristen Nielsen attacked in a restaurant, Ted Cruz attacked in a restaurant. I mean, things didn't get physical lucky. Sarah Sanders kicked out and followed across the street. Devin Nunes, he's been harassed and stalked. Steve Scalise was shot, right? We know about that. There's been some Republican offices burnt or, graffitied up. And, this is the problems we have here. When one party, is just trying to ratchet it up. But one of these IP addresses, because they've been doing some research on this stuff, one of the IP addresses of the people that have been issuing this personal information out comes from none other than an office of Maxine Toilet Waters. So we need a full investigation, right? Now, if you're a resident in Minnesota and you have Keith Ellison with his abuse record there, where's the investigation for him? I think it needs to be, this guy wants to be an attorney general. History of abuse. Nobody's out there, none of these Democrats are saying that. Need to be believed, need to be believed. You're a resident up there. You have senators that won't even tell you their position on Keith Ellison. They don't want to talk about Keith Ellison. They want to talk about Kavanaugh with no evidence. And in the other, or not just the other, but you have Hillary Clinton talking about everyone needs to be believed. They must be believed, right? Everyone needs to be believed. All women, I'm saying. Not everybody, but all women need to be believed. The great Hillary Clinton, she should have a sit-down with all the women that have accused her husband of rape, because they need to be believed. So maybe she doesn't want to believe him, but the least standard she could have, since they said they need to be, she said they need to be believed, the least standard she could have is that they need to be heard. She should sit down with each one of them, if she wants to have any freaking credibility, and talk to each one. Whatever. Flowers, Broderick, any of them. Any of them. And I know some of them weren't raped, some were slightly attacked, some were just affairs that he had. That's fine. Need to be believed, right? Let's hear what they have to say, Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But, hey, if you want to have some credibility. And there's a funny thing, Texas race, we know Senator Ted Cruz is going against, Beto O'Rourke, whatever his name is. That's funny. So they have a bunch of these people in Texas who have their shirts, Moms Demand Action, Beto for Senate. Moms Demand Action. That's funny. So the Moms Demand Action for gun sense in America. They're showing up to support Beto. It's pretty hilarious because, well, I shouldn't say hilarious is the key word, but they're talking about guns. They don't want any guns here in America. Stop gun violence. Here they are supporting Beto. Do they not know about this guy? Right? He was drunk, driving, right? Got arrested. This guy tried to flee the scene and still in denial. You could say people change, but here's a guy who won't even admit to what happened. Not only that, but he has other legal problems. Or he had, I should say. I think there's nothing pending right now, but still, that's the guy you want for you in Texas. Mother support. We're against guns, but it's okay if our candidate drove drunk. No problem. Then you had the pathetic Maxine Toilet Waters, who tweeted out, Kavanaugh, so many have come forward describing your abuse of alcohol. I think it's important that the American people know if you ever start treatment for alcohol abuse. Yeah. Well, firstly, their credibility is about as much as yours, most of those people. And I mean, my theory to this is, Maxine, your lying and cheating is so bad. Have you ever sought help? You know, bank fraud. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your husband. You know, I mean, if Kavanaugh had this drinking problem, they show up in each of the past 6 FBI investigations that he's had. They would have shown up. Guarantee you. If you know anything about these background checks, not only are they very intensive, but they find out stuff about all these people. They did drugs, you know, they didn't need to be arrested for it. They find out about it. They talk to other people. This person had a drug problem. This person bought drugs from a local drug dealer. This person stopped doing it. They know all this stuff. The FBI knows it all. You know, they know about it. If you were a lowlife or you hung out with lowlifes, the FBI knows about it. They go and ask all these people. And people who give extra dirt, of course, half the people, if they get a chance to talk, they want to talk. People love to talk. They can be a center of attention. Oh, you're not here for me? Great. You want to talk about this guy? Yeah, I'll tell you whatever. I'll even embellish it and add some more. That being said, 6 investigations, nothing. If they found any of this, they'd have it. You'll see it in the report if it's there. If any, because they know there's been other people nominated for court, you know, to be judges, and they found drug history or alcohol history, and so then they take it, and sometimes whoever's president nominated them will pull that nomination. Or at times, maybe the nominee will be like, you know, this is embarrassing. It's going to get out. I might as well just stay where I'm at and I'm fine. I don't want to advance it because I don't want to deal with this. And that's their choice. And then there are other times where it comes out and people know and it's no big deal. Yeah, I got drunk once 40 years ago, you know, or, oh, yeah, I did, you know, I smoked marijuana like Barack Obama did years ago, you know, or Bill Clinton. I didn't inhale, but you know, no big deal, right? So trust me, the FBI would know about it. And then you have this cartoon. We won't even mention the moron's name, but it was a cartoon, and you know, it's one of those where the daughter or you know a young girl is praying at the bed, right? And it says Kavanaugh's daughter says another prayer. And on it says, "Dear God, forgive my angry, lying, alcoholic father for sexually assaulting Dr. Ford." I mean, if you want to say that about Kavanaugh, that's fine. But disgusting to involve his daughter. Really, low blow, disgusting. I mean, just shows how classless, number one. And number two, again, none of that stuff is proven. It's all falsities. I mean, we can talk Dr. Ford. She's credible, yeah. I mean, think about it. Think about it. Think about, like, let's say you had a friend that said, I saw a UFO. And you're like, okay, well, tell me about it. Well, I was in this park, and there was a UFO that came by. I saw it. I remember the lights were green and red, and it went away. And you're like, oh, how'd you get to that park? You don't drive, right? No. Well, how'd you get to the park? I don't remember. Oh, well, how'd you get home from the park? That's like 20 miles from your house. Yeah, I don't remember. Okay, yeah, well, was anybody with you and saw the UFO? Oh, yeah. Pete did, Brad did, Mike did. Oh, my best friend Jenny saw it. Okay, cool. So you're like, wow, sounds credible. You saw it? Okay, even though it's kind of weird, you don't remember how you got there, got home. That's weird. Didn't tell me that. It's been a few years since it happened. So then you start, hey, man, do you remember that UFO you saw? You asked one of the people, she said, you know, Pete or Jenny. Do you remember that UFO you saw? What? What UFO? Remember you were at the park over there? No, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen a UFO. I don't go to that park. It's too far from my home. Oh, okay. Oh, well. So then you see Jenny, right? You've talked to all the friends now. There's Jenny. Good friends. Hey, Jenny, did you see that UFO? Remember a few years ago? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see any UFO. Remember at the park? I don't know. Remember you with Pete and everybody? No, I've never even been to that park. I don't even know what you're talking about. Nor was I at that park with any of those people. I've never been to the park, and I've never seen a UFO. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like a credible UFO sighting. I mean, you get the point. You don't remember how you got there. You don't remember how you left. It's all fraud. I mean, I don't like flying because of the bad experience I had then with the UFO. Hey, wait, didn't you fly last week when you were on vacation? Oh, yeah, well, vacations are easier. It's no problem. Wait, didn't you fly over here? Didn't you fly over there? Wait, haven't you flown 20 times in the last 5 years? Well, yeah. Well, I thought you couldn't fly because of the trauma of the UFO. Oh, well, yeah, I can. Oh, okay, but you flew 20 times in the last few years? Come on, seriously? For those of us born before last night, we're not buying any of this. I'm sorry, and then the people with the, I want to put the kids' gloves on and say, oh, well, she must have been attacked, but it just might have been by somebody else. You know what? There's no proof that she was attacked by anybody. And maybe something happened to her and she's projecting, but I don't think that's the case. This girl is a lot smarter than you think. Watch video when she teaches her class. Her voice is different than what she used at that trial. What classes does she teach? Really weird. We know the fake lie detector test and the, oh, I don't want to be known, but I had a lawyer and had a lie detector test way before, which doesn't make sense. But putting that aside, all the social media was scrubbed. Why would you scrub your activities? What do they have to do with this? You don't want people to see? But people already seen you. You said people knew your address. They're already there. So what does your social media accounts matter? No, because you are an activist and you don't want people to see that. Okay, that doesn't disqualify. It doesn't mean things didn't happen. No problem. But why is the college you teach at scrubbing some of the classes you teach? They don't want people to know. Why is that? It's irrelevant. You've already taught them. They're already in the past. Oh, because you taught people that were possible CIA candidates? Because your dad and your uncle, right, were part of the CIA? So there's a lot more ties here than you think. Trust me. And you go on and on and on with the rest of these people. I mean, the Ramirez chick, the Swetnick chick. I mean, where was Brett Kavanaugh? We're going to have a new book. Where was Brett Kavanaugh? Not where's Waldo. Where's Brett Kavanaugh? Was Brett Kavanaugh in line to gang rape some girl? Was Brett Kavanaugh pinballing down the stairs? Was Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulting this girl? Was Brett Kavanaugh by the punch bowl? Was Brett Kavanaugh by the Solo Cup line? Did Brett Kavanaugh work for Solo Cups? I mean, where is Brett Kavanaugh book coming soon to you? Now, I mean, that's it. And then you look at, just the credibility of the buffoons that you have. The lead four, right? Blumenthal, Booker, Harris, Feinstein. Feinstein, chair of the Intelligence Committee, right? Had a Chinese spy working for her for 20 years. We know about her husband and the land deals, all that. You can look it up. It's common knowledge. All the fraud there. I earn 150 grand a year, yet not me. I'm saying her more, but she earns about 150 from her job on average from when she started to now. And yet she's gained $1 billion in wealth. Don't worry about it, man. Nothing to see. Be a sheeple. Kamala Harris, right? No big deal. Kamala had it rough when she started. They were really hard on her. Remember when she started her political career? She slept with a man 30 years older who was married and went on dates with him publicly while he was married. Jerry Brown. Not saying any names. Blumenthal. Y'all know about him. Even Trump called him out the other day. Here's a guy who not only lied about being in Vietnam, but he said he was a war hero there. I mean, he's probably got tennis elbow from patting himself on the back, Bloomy. Right? Hey. And then Cory Booker. Here's a guy who, I mean, fake Spartacus moment, the fake acting, the fake drooling, seething, foaming at the mouth. We all know this guy's a fraud. But here's a guy, and we can go into his past and other things he's done, but a guy who admits he groped a girl who was too drunk. So, as your buddy Barack Obama would say, and I'll say first, you should step down then. If you've admitted, if here you are questioning Kavanaugh, saying that this makes him unqualified, and you did the same thing, and you've admitted to it, then you should step down immediately. And like your buddy Barack Obama said, it's the right thing to do, right? That little thing, it's the right thing to do. Well, Cory Booker, it's the right thing to do. You should step down. Seriously. If you don't step down, you have no credibility. Well, you already had no credibility, but I mean, it just shows you what a fraud these people are. Yeah. Embarrassing. And how come nobody cared when Barack Obama, speaking of him, right? He had sex with guys for cocaine. That's been out there. He smoked pot all the time. He did drugs, cocaine. Oh, nobody cared? I mean, seriously, you're going to have this moral high ground. What FBI background check did Obama pass? Let me tell you, he couldn't pass one because of his ties to terrorists. So, where was your importance of the background checks with Obama, right? And so forth and so on. So, we can go on and on about that. We can go on about Jeff Flake and embarrassment from Arizona. We all knew that. This guy is just an embarrassment. I mean, he has no guts. Whatever reason he changed his mind for. Look, they've had the investigations on Kavanaugh. You're just wasting everybody's time. I'm not sure if this is something to get back at Trump or whatever it is, but this guy is a disgrace. Jeff Flake, stop saying that, it's not because he doesn't like Trump. Jeff Flake's been a flake before Trump. Okay, Jeff Flake has perpetrated a fraud on most Arizonans. I don't understand how people even kept on voting for this guy. Here's a guy who didn't show up for the Obamacare vote. Sorry, he was too busy. Okay? And don't tell me he had something to do with his kids. I don't want to hear it. You know what? I have stuff to do with my kids all the time. But sometimes there are other things I have to do. And a vote like that, one of the most important in the history of our country, would be one of those things. I'm sorry. And Jeff Flake's all about Jeff Flake. Because let me tell you, when Obama was opening up visits to Cuba, Jeff Flake was the first one ruling at it. You care about people, Jeff Flake, right? Yeah. What about the Cuban people who were abused, hurt, punished? And you didn't care. You didn't care about them, Flake. You just were like, ooh, I can't wait to go to Cuba. I can't wait to go to Cuba. So, I mean, this guy's a fraud. We didn't even need to talk about him. Amongst other things, where was he standing up to Obama, right? Where was this guy asking for the reopening of the investigation on Hillary Clinton? Where was he? Where was he? So, let's see, what do we cover? Let's go Vegas. Let's go Las Vegas. Now, we're not going Las Vegas UFC yet. We know UFC 229 is there this weekend, but we all know it was October 1st, a year ago, the Las Vegas shooting. And what do we have What was the motive? Where are the answered questions? We don't have anything. We have a federal government who should be in charge of this investigation, who's run off the rails with nothing. We knew Vegas had what, a 40-man SWAT team ready on hand. What happened to it that night? Again, did the government know who Stephen Paddock was before the shooting? They intercepted his number on a phone tap. They knew about transfers of money. They knew about all this stuff. So they knew him, as far as I'm concerned. Why didn't they have more eyes on him? Why was the local homicide team, pulled off the case? Who's really even investigating this case? The local team should always be there, even if the FBI or somebody else is taking over. The local team knows the nooks and crannies. They should still be there to help with the investigation. Were there 2 shooting positions? We still don't have answers to this. Nobody still. We've gotten no questions out of law enforcement, out of FBI, or even from the girlfriend, who should be in jail until this is cleared up, as far as I'm concerned, because we know she took part in this, one way or another. There's no way of what she's saying. Sorry, and they have enough evidence to prove it. Why was Paddock in that hotel the first few days under her name? Was that true, or is that a lie? We still don't know. So, question: who locked the door from the inside of the second shooting position? Right? Paddock was dead on this side. The door was locked. So why were there helicopters that were present that didn't show up on the radar? Why were helicopters, regular ones, even flying around well after the shooting started? What happened with Campos, right? The security guard? We haven't even heard a word from him since. One interview with softball questions, right? From a conflicting show. And then Campos disappeared. We haven't heard a word about him from him. And what happened to Mary Lou Danley, of course? What happened to her? She has a wealth of information. He was transferring money to her, and her lame excuse of, I thought he was breaking up with me. Yeah, most guys breaking up with you are going to drop you $150,000. Go buy a house. I'm breaking up with you. Here's a plane ticket, and here's money for a house. And you don't question that? You don't question that? It makes no sense, right? You wouldn't question it, like if you cared about him, right? You would be like, why are you breaking up with me? Something. And nothing, right? Nothing. You would think she would question that. So it seemed like she didn't even question that. Oh, you're breaking up with me and giving me $150,000? That would be weird. How about, if you're breaking up with me, I don't want to take your money. I don't know. And what about still a lot of fake things? We still haven't seen all the videotape. There's got to be a lot more videotape than they've shown us. And if there's something on there we're not supposed to see, then that should be a lead or something that should have amounted to something by now. There's also just a lot of the fraud that was there. Like they said, it was 22,000 people there. There weren't 22,000 people. You can clearly see that. There's just a lot of things that don't add up. And by now, usually, a year later, usually in any shooting thing or whatnot, those things are fixed. And they're not. So they're lies that are still constantly told. And eventually, when a lie keeps on getting told and it can't really be challenged because they're the makers of the story, those become the truths of the story. And we know they're not the truths of the story. They're not the truths of the story. They're just what they're perpetrating on the American public. A year later, and we still don't have answers. You know, 1 year and we still have no answers. We really don't know anything more than we did a year ago. So, one time when we have some time, I mean, obviously the news is crazy now, but when we get some free time, we'll definitely take another more in-depth look at this. But I definitely didn't want to let go the year anniversary go by and not talk about it and throw some questions out there, I don't know. I mean, we're just a year later and we haven't made any headway. It's pretty ridiculous. So now, Las Vegas. This weekend, Saturday, on my wife's birthday. Happy birthday, Veronica. UFC 229. So we have the main card. First fight in the main card is Michelle Waterson versus Felice Herring. Michelle Waterson, the Karate Hottie. Felice Herring. Michelle Waterson, 15-6. Felice Herring, 14-7. For the Karate Hottie, she could knock you out, submit you, decision. But Felice Herring, it's more of decisions and submissions. 115-pound weight division. Felice Herring has a 3-inch reach advantage. And the Karate Hottie's rank 8th. Felice Herring's 9th. Very, good matchup. You always see Felice Herring is definitely high volume, but she tends to miss a lot, but she's always very active. The Karate Hottie, she is definitely more efficient, accurate, and they don't usually shoot for takedowns, either one of them. They will from the clinch, but they don't come from outside, so that's not their game too much. Herring tends to be more of a top position, obviously, and that's kind of one of Waterson's biggest flaws in her game. When somebody gets on top, they can take advantage of her. So, I don't know. I see that. I think unless somebody's developed their game a lot more since the last time, you never know. When fighters are so close, you never know. Somebody could develop a little bit more. But I see Felice Herring winning this by a decision and unanimous decision. Not saying it's not going to be close, but I think it'll be enough for her to win 2 out of the 3 rounds for Felice Herring. And she'll move on and move up. Now, the next fight, you have the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, who's number 2 here in the heavyweights, going against Alexander Volkov. They call him Drago, from Russia. Derek Lewis is 20-5. Alexander's 29-6. With Derek Lewis basically knockout. He's going to knock you out. With Alexander, he's mostly knockouts. He's gotten a few decisions. Derek Lewis is probably 10-pound weight advantage, depending upon what they weigh in. Volkov, 1-inch reach advantage. Obviously, he's got pretty long legs, this guy, so he's actually got a 4-inch leg. Reach out's one thing. He can try to keep Derek Lewis away. So that'll be definitely something to look at. Can he keep Derek Lewis away? That's the question we have to ask there. For me, I've seen much more in Derek Lewis fight. He always finds a way to win. He can take the abuse. So even if Alexander keeps him far away, which is what he needs to do, and starts peppering him with shots, Derek Lewis is one of those guys that eventually is going to walk through your shots and hit you and knock you out. So I see Derek Lewis in a 2nd round knockout. And then he should probably be up for a title fight, I would assume, at heavyweight. But we'll see. Last time he got this close, he had lost. So, Next fight, That's 205 weight class. We have Ovis St. Preux against Dominic Reyes. So for Ovis, he's 22-11. Always a competitive fighter, but just can't seem to get to that next level. He lost to John Jones. He's Dominic Reyes, 9-0. For St. Preux, he's a mixed bag. He'll knock you out half the time, but he can submit you, and he's gone to decision and grinded out. For Dominic Reyes, it's more of a knockout artist for him. Reach advantage, or I should say height. Dominic's 1 inch taller. Reach advantage. OSP, it's got a 3-inch reach advantage, 2 inches on the legs. So that ought to be interesting. To me, I see the fight as, I think for OSP, he's just pretty much a gatekeeper in this division. He's good quality. If you beat him, it means you should move up. And Dominic Reyes, undefeated right now. Is he the real deal? That's what you got to ask at 9-0. This is pretty much a turning point for both these guys' career. If Dominic can go on and win this fight, he moves up into the top 10, and he's going to get probably a top 5 opponent because Preux's 7, so he'll probably move around that spot. And OSP, if he wants to have any chance at, getting into that title picture, he needs a dominant performance against the 12. I've seen Reyes in one fight. He looked good. And OSP, sometimes I don't know, sometimes he comes out there and looks good, sometimes not as much. I think the thing here is OSP is not going to be able to take Dominic down, so if he gets in trouble, he's going to have a huge problem. That's what I see happening. I see Dominic Reyes with a 3rd round knockout. And it's just because he's going to be, stopping everything that OSP can do. OSP will get his shots. He might even rock Reyes at one point, but I think Reyes is eventually going to take over the fight. 3rd round KO. That's pretty much the way we see that one going. And for the co-main event, we have Tony Ferguson, El Cucuy, versus Anthony Showtime Pettis. Anthony's younger brother's fighting Justin Formiga. Ought to be an interesting fight on the prelim card. That'll probably be the best prelim fight. And so this fight, Ferguson, who's number 2, obviously coming off injury. Anthony Pettis, who's been the champ before. Back at lightweight. He had cut down before. So, it's 2 guys that can fight from their backs. They are not guys that are into takedowns a lot. I mean, they are definitely, almost like a kickboxing match it could turn into. They're both very good on their feet. They don't knock people down. They're not guys with one-shot knockout power. Anthony Pettis showed it at once, but I think that's long since been gone. As far as, with one kick power, not more of punching, but kick-wise. So that's what you see. Pettis likes to press forward. Ferguson's just always found a way to win. Ferguson is 25-3. Pettis is 21-7. A few years ago, this probably could have been a great fight. I don't know. Pettis has been pretty rough lately. Tony Ferguson has a 4-inch reach advantage. And I just see this Ferguson winning by decision. I don't know. This Pettis, you just can't trust him these days. When he was back in the day when he was champ, obviously, when he was finishing in the WEC and he fought Benson Henderson, Showtime, that was his name. That's what he did. That's what he was all about. But now it's a little bit different. He'll come out and you'll see glimpses of that. It's weird because he's still young, but in his fighting career, it looks like he's older. Like, when you get like I don't know, I don't want to say Wayne Gretzky because I'm not saying Pettis is anywhere near the greatest ever, but I'm just saying, like, you get one of these guys, like, like Frank Gore maybe in NFL. And this guy was a star at one point, and now he's near the end of his career, and he just looks sluggish and not the same as he used to be. But every once in a while, I'll have a few carries or a game where Gore looks, wow, that's Frank Gore, blowing through people, knocking them down, running over people. And that's kind of like the way Pettis is. You see those flashes, but they're not there consistently. They're not there for the whole fight. And that's where Ferguson takes over this fight, because Ferguson is going to be tough the whole time. And he's going to give Pettis very little room for error. Could Pettis catch him? Sure. But I just see this as a grind him up, a lot of stand up, like I said, almost like a kickboxing match. And I think Ferguson is going to wilt Pettis a little, as you've seen a few times, because Ferguson's nonstop. And I think Ferguson just, starts to impose his will on the, and wins by decision. I mean, that's it. A unanimous decision. The fight will be close for a while. Pettis will have his moments. Pettis could be down in that last round and find a way to kick him and stun him, and that's Pettis. But in general, Ferguson takes this, and he'll move on for a shot at the title. So, main event. You have Khabib Nurmagomedov, the Eagle, against Conor McGregor, Notorious, whatever the nickname is, So you have, it's 26-0 for Khabib. McGregor is 21-3. McGregor hasn't fought MMA in a while. The last fight was a boxing match. And if you look back at some of the last few fights, obviously he had the 2 fights with Diaz. You could say he lost both of them. He lost one, he got choked out. These guys have exact opposite styles, and they play into each other's weaknesses. That's what the crazy thing about it is. To say you see it this way, definitely, it's just a crazy prediction. McGregor always finds a way to win in the huge fights. He finds a way to win. And sorry, I was just writing something down before I forget what I'm going to. So, you just see that Khabib is a dominant wrestler. And now, a lot of curious things and moving parts in this fight. McGregor is boxer, a really good boxer. To say he's not a good boxer is crazy. He has power for MMA. He's knocked out a lot of people. He has that power. And, 86% of the time when he fights, he KOs somebody. Now, before McGregor, that's his game. He can box. Obviously, he hung with Mayweather, and you can say whatever Mayweather. Either way, to get in a boxing ring in your first fight and fight that level of competition, and have your moments. He didn't embarrass himself out there. It wasn't a great fight, but he did what he did. Most people couldn't do that well in their first boxing match. So McGregor has that, and Khabib has the unbelievable wrestling. He gets you down. He's going to keep you down. I think the only problem for me with Khabib comes into kind of like Anderson Silva. Who could beat Anderson Silva back in the day, right? There was one person. There was only one fighter that could ever beat Anderson Silva back in the day. And that was Anderson Silva. Pulling around a lot. And it was exciting to watch, let me tell you. He was so exciting to watch, Anderson Silva. Now, Khabib's a different breed, but Khabib is the only fighter that can beat Khabib. If he stays away, gets his takedown, and keeps Conor down, he will wear out Conor. He will inflict his will on Conor, and decrease Conor's power. Because obviously when you're tired, you're exhausted, it's when you're watching out for your feet, getting grabbed, it cuts down on your power. So you'll have that. And Khabib's, like I said, the only moving fluid thing that worries me about this is, will Khabib just stand there and try to take a shot? Because he's done that in a few fights. You see it. I don't know if it's cocky, if he's testing himself, I don't know. But if he stands there and is going to let Conor hit him, which you've seen Khabib do, not the way Anderson Silva did, where Anderson Silva would duck out of the way, let you swing at him, and make a fool out of you, that's one thing. But Khabib actually goes in, and he doesn't need to. He can get the takedown. He finds a way to do it. You've seen him do it many times where he can get in there and get out. But there are some times where he's gotten a takedown or two, and I don't know if it's cocky or if he wants to test himself, but he just starts putting his chin up, and he'll let you hit him, and he'll walk through your punch and then try to take you down. He can do that late against Conor, but if he does that early, it could change the fight, and that's the way I think Conor can win this fight. That being said, I think Khabib knows to fight smarter this fight. I think he will. I don't think he's going to let these emotions get to him. I mean, this guy is not like some of these other guys where the emotions get to them, like Eddie Alvarez, and he starts fighting a street fight instead of doing what Eddie Alvarez normally could do, take him down, work him. As you've seen, that's Conor's weakness. You saw Chad Mendes do it to Conor. You've seen Diaz do it to Conor. And once Conor gets on the ground, he's kind of like a fish. I mean, you've seen him tap quicker than anything you ever seen when he was about to get choked by Diaz. You've seen once he gets taken down, he's a fish. So once he gets tired, this guy is not an above average fighter. So that's what Khabib's got to do, grind him out for a few rounds. You want to get a little cocky in the fourth round, I wouldn't suggest it, but you'll have more success with it then. And that's why I see Khabib winning this fight by a submission in the fourth round. I mean, that's what it'll be, and you can put an end to this Conor, joke. I mean, to consider this guy one of the greatest MMA fighters ever, it's pretty ridiculous. He's lost to Diaz. He could have lost that second one to Diaz. I mean, if Chad Mendes was in any shape, he takes him out. And I know it's ifs, would have, but have, and could have, and ands, but, again, to say a guy's the greatest fighter at that point, we'll see. Hey, he'll have his chance to add to his legacy, and so will Khabib. But I see, like I said, Khabib winning by submission, fourth round, and it should be a pretty good night of fights. Las Vegas, I'm sure, will be rocking. It should be definitely the best pay-per-view that the UFC's had. That's the UFC there. So, on to the news again, right? We had to see Hillary Clinton being in the cameo for, the Retread Murphy Brown show? Or whatever. I don't even know what the name of the show is, but Hillary Clinton, really? You know what? That's the difference between the criminals. I don't know if I said this on last week's show or not, but I'll say it to make sure that it's been said. The difference between criminals today and of yesteryear is, yesteryear you were a criminal, you got caught, maybe you got away with something, or they caught you for something little, and then so they caught you for something little, right? And you would just shut up. You didn't want attention. You would let it go away and be happy that you got away with what you did, right? But these days, with these criminals, it's like they get away with something, like Hillary Clinton, and then they make jokes about it. They go on TV shows like emails, ha, 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 emails. Like, why wouldn't you just shut up? You did something illegal. There's no denying that. I mean, everybody knows it. Even your buddy Comey said you did something illegal. Everybody did. That's not even in question. We know you did something illegal. It's a fact. Not even debatable. It's a fact. Now, just shut up about it. Why do you have to continue to babble it like it's a freaking joke? And that's what gets people agitated. That's what agitates people. It's like basically saying, yeah, I committed a crime, but I can get away with it. But you can't because you don't have the money and the lawyers I do. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, it's just buffoons like OJ, Hillary Clinton, just like these people get away with crimes. Just shut your mouth. But no, they have to still go on and on and on about it. Nancy Pelosi says that she's going to be the Speaker of the House again. I mean, that will tell you that you should go out and vote. Vote against every Democrat. I'm sorry. Usually I don't say party thing, I say vote for the best person, but you almost have to vote against these fools. I mean, just these clowns that you have. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. I mean, wow, welcome to the divisive America. America the divisive. That's what you're really going to have if Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House again. I mean, that's ridiculous. I think what you need to do is get more hardcore people that want less government spending, because if you see, government spending has not gone down. And we don't have an income problem. We have plenty of income coming in, the most ever, by far. But we're just spending more and more than ever. And there's so many things that can be cut. I mean, that's the problem. It's not like we're spending it, but none of these people want to cut anything. They say, now it's either votes, you're going to make somebody mad. It's like these trade deals. Everybody talks about, oh, China's ripping us off, and Canada this. And then when Trump does something about it, and these countries try to fight back, they know outlast the American people, because a lot of them are weak-willed. So they're going to strike us and tariff something, and then all these people are going to melt, and usually our president will melt. And this time Trump's trying to stand up to them. I mean, that's it. That's what you have in a nutshell. Nobody wants to take a stand. You have to have a little bit of pain, but eventually, one, you're going to get more of our product going in these countries, or you'll just get the factories to open up back in America, and then there'll be more jobs for everybody and more money, and that's really what we need at the end of the day. We can make all this stuff ourselves, but these other countries have taken over making this stuff because the level playing field, as the libs love to say, is not level, because they can pay people pennies an hour. They don't have any standards. They don't have any regulations to deal with. Send it over here, and the prices aren't even comparable. And that would be fine if our companies who make something good could send it to them, but they can't because they're getting punished so much tax-wise. Nobody's going to buy that stuff, It's like, yeah, if you need a bottle of aspirin and I could send it to you, but your government's going to charge you $100 tax on it, it's, yeah, you could tell me, oh, you can bring the aspirin in, but nobody's going to buy it. Can't compete, But then they want to bring their stuff here with no fees. We just want that level playing field like the Dems talk about. Now, one thing is, and you heard in the testimony of Blasey Ford over there, and you've seen from the Peter Strzok and all the stuff, this GoFundMe stuff. Now, this is like the new Western Union. The FBI's got to be looking into it. A lot of this GoFundMe stuff is money laundering scheme. You have people that basically are setting up a GoFundMe, and it's almost like, why is Blasey Ford getting it? Or why was Peter Strzok getting all this money in the GoFundMe? These people need money, especially Strzok has tons of money. All these people have tons of money. No, it's basically a pay for play. hey, we're doing this, we're going against Trump, let's get some money. So now you don't have to worry about payments coming from wherever, or somebody slipping this, or $1 million from Soros going to it. No, you just collect on a GoFundMe, and you get tons of money through that. They need to know where this cash is coming from. There should be more documentation and more stuff. When you get so much money coming in so quick, like $500,000, that's something that needs to be looked at, especially for what did Peter Strzok need? I still don't understand what he needed money for. What was he needing money for? His defense fund for what? Did he get charged with anything yet? I mean, I wish he would, but he hasn't. Just like Cohen, he had a defense fund, and people are, the minute he said he was against Trump, they're giving him money. But what are they giving him money for? He doesn't need money. So, I mean, most of what he's in trouble, or all of what Cohen is in trouble for, was because he did illegal stuff. The cab scam and all that stuff. Why are we giving him money for that? I mean, is next up, are we going to have people on trial for murder? We're going to have GoFundMe accounts for them? Hey, I need some money for my defense. I want a real lawyer in my murder case. Yeah, I guess if it's something you believe in, somebody you think is innocent, that's one thing, but you're just going to have every random murder. I don't know. And when are we going to finish the investigation, speaking of looking into money and stuff like that? The feds, IRS. When are we going to have an investigation, since we want to have investigations? Now, I'd love to have investigations. When are we going to have the full investigation on Lois Lerner, and when will she be charged? We've admitted crimes taken place. When will they be charged? The justice scale is not only tilted, but it's broken. I mean, it's just broken. I mean, they're trying to put Kavanaugh in jail. At the end of this, they'll want to put Kavanaugh in jail. He won't have a job in any court if the Republicans don't stand up to this. But you have people like Lois Lerner. A crime was committed. We all know that. And she's getting a pension, right? Should be in jail for what she did. Hillary Clinton. She committed a crime. Even Comey said it. But there was no intent, he said. That's... I mean, in that case, if you're a drunk driver and you run over somebody, I had no intent. I had no intent of running anybody over. Is that what's going to be acceptable in the court of law? It doesn't matter whether you had intent as far as was a crime committed or wasn't it. Then the intent comes in on the sentencing of that crime as far as, okay, you maliciously did something, or you kind of just did something careless and somebody got hurt in it. So that could be the difference in a sentence. But at the end of the day, you're a criminal. It doesn't matter what your intent is. And putting that bull aside, your intent, as far as Hillary Clinton, her intent was there. It's not like she didn't know the law. It was some obscure law. Like you can't have your donkey park facing west on a Sunday night. No, it was you can't have a server and put government information on your own private server. So that was intent. You did something you knew you weren't supposed to do. There's your intent right there. You knowingly broke the law. Like the drunk driver. Yeah, maybe you didn't mean to hit anybody, but you're not supposed to drink and drive. And you drank, and you got in your car, and you drove. You knowingly did something wrong. There's the crime. Now, we can judge your intent later, but there's the crime. Time to pay for the crime. But that's just me. I'm a realist and want a fair justice system. And one day, it's going to turn around on some of these people, and you'll say it's never me. Is that the society you want to live in? Never you? Well, it will be you one day, because somebody else is going to get power, and they're going to want their way, or they're going to change the rules. Just the rules of the game always change. You see that in sports, and you see that in life. And that's what's going to happen. You're trying to change the rules of the game they're supposed to be changed for the better, right? But you're just trying to change them for you. And somebody else is going to be in charge, and they're going to change them for them. And then you're going to be complaining about that. But this is the time to step up and stop that, is tell, hey, we're not putting up with this from either side. We want it fair and even. That's it. Because otherwise, when you can just make stuff up, like about Kavanaugh, that could be your life one day. So what's the point? What's the point of living then? If anytime you're living life or succeeding or doing something, somebody could just say one thing and you're done, right? They had this in society at one point, from Salem witch trials. They also had this in France with the Jacques, right? I accuse you of something and you pay for it. Doesn't matter if I approve, you pay for it. And that society doesn't work out. It goes by the wayside. When it's just accusatory and that's it, you're done. Everybody can take everybody down. And the world will never get back up again. Thanks for listening to this week's Reality Check. Have a great day. We'll see you next week, and we'll be able to discuss those UFC results.